My thoughts on the Rhode Island Democratic Party failing to endorse the incumbent Governor Dan McKee in his bout against Helena Bonanno Folks in the Democrat primary. Before I get into my analysis of this, I think I'll set the table here with Ted Nesi at WPRI. He laid it out pretty well, what happened over the weekend in terms of the convention and the results.
First tonight, 12 News is your local election headquarters. Another setback for Governor Dan McKee's re-election campaign. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. I'm Sheena Losciuto. The state Democratic Party declined to make an endorsement in his race against challenger Helena Folks. 12 News politics editor Ted Nesi was there for us today at the convention.
This was not the outcome that Governor Dan McKee had hoped for today. He came just 2 votes short of securing a majority to win the state Democratic Party endorsement. That means the party will be neutral going into the primary between McKee and his Democratic primary challenger, Helena Folks. 12 News caught up with Folks after the vote, and she was pleased with that outcome.
I do feel momentum. I really do. I've been visiting all the cities and towns, and then to see the votes come in the last week, we have more endorsements coming. I think people are really ready for change, and then momentum builds momentum.
McKee's campaign has suffered a series of setbacks in recent weeks. He was down 20 points in last month's 12 News Emerson College poll, and just this past week, Democrats in his hometown of Cumberland endorsed Folks. But in his speech, McKee urged the party to stick with him on September 9th.
Happy to be here at the Teamsters Hall right now because we've added 37,000 private sector jobs since I've been governor. That is a big deal.
The vote here at the Teamsters Hall in East Providence got off to a bit of a chaotic start as electronic balloting failed and the party had to switch to paper ballots. The next big endorsement will be by the Rhode Island AFL-CIO. McKee has been working hard to secure enough union support to get the AFL's backing. In East Providence, Ted Nesi, 12 News.
All right. We thank WPRI for that, Ted Nesi and the team over there. Look, that union endorsement is actually going to be, honestly, probably that's the one that if it swings away from McKee in any way, that's the one where you go, we're talking full-on collapse. But here's what happened over the weekend, folks. It was just the culmination of the inevitable here. There's a lot of layers to this. There's a lot of aftershock to consider. And then there's also just the ground game in real time here when you take a look at this election cycle, and when you take a look at this particular race, McKee Folks 2.0, if you will. Does this matter? I don't know. Does this move the 40 maybe or more percentage of people who are actually going to vote early or in person or by mail in that Democrat primary? Does this move anybody at all? If you're among the undecideds, right, and you basically know who these people are, vaguely know who they are, vaguely know who McKee is, vaguely know who Folks is, does the party endorsement or a lack of endorsement, is that what's going to sway you? I'm not sure. I think it trickles out in different ways. You know, we all know somebody who pays attention. They'll say, oh, you know, McKee, yeah, he's done. The party didn't endorse it. But it's not this massive tidal wave in and of itself, but it's just the culmination of what has been happening inside the Democrat Party here in Rhode Island for well over a year. I mean, honestly, all the way back to the last election. Honestly, all the way back to, I don't know, at least since I've been around, we've talked about it so many times, right? And I've kind of simplified it to say, well, there's the Northern Rhode Island Mayoral Peer Group. That's McKee's kind of faction of the party. You've got Lombardi, the mayor of North Providence, all those characters, right? And then the Raimondo side and all the players in government, outside of government, right? Inside the party, outside of the party, organizationally, whatever. And that through line is roughly accurate, I think you can say, still, right? If you take a look at McKee getting the endorsement of Bob DeSilva, the mayor of East Providence, and Lombardi, and Beauchamp and Woonsocket, and Grebian in Pawtucket, and even DeSilva, he was on the radio with us last week after this, and he was like, well, again, number one, loyalty. And yeah, there's a loyalty factor here with some of the remaining out front McKee supporters. But behind the scenes inside the party, you don't even have to be an insider. You don't have to have any special tools or special access to see that this party has been shifting, not in the sense of being split 50-50 or something like that. It has decidedly, in terms of the levers of power, the people who are involved, it has decidedly moved away from Dan McKee. And it's way more than the Washington Bridge. It's way more than even the contemporary vibe, if you will, after the bad polling numbers for McKee. There's just a different energy in there. And you can see it in things like, for example, the Rhode Island Democratic Party sends out a weekly email blast. It's not like a media blast. It's just anybody who wants to know what the party's up to. In it, they have a note from the chairperson, and then they have, here's a couple of different events, and here's a couple of things that our party leaders have been up to. Oh, Nerona, took on Trump with this, and Amore did that, and here's a local rep that did this. I read these things every week, and it is rare that a Dan McKee mention is there. It certainly doesn't lead the coverage. It's just an attitude, right? So what took place at the Democrat convention, no matter what anybody says, no matter what anybody tells you, it was kind of predictable, right? And you see it reflected in the failure to endorse in the lieutenant governor's race as well, right? There's an energy inside the party, maybe not the state, maybe not even the political people, right? By the way, trying to get away from that word political class. Political people, right? People of a political mind here. I don't know if there's this huge energy like, oh, we got to shift towards Helena folks. I know that and we all know that there's an appetite for change, period. How that plays out in the different elections this year, mayor, Providence, governor, all that, that may or may not be simply reflective of an appetite for change. But in this Democrat Party, within the party itself, the people who are members of the party, and that kind of inner circle there, there's not only an appetite for change, they're trying to make it happen, and in many ways they are. And that's why when Helena Bonanno Folk talks about momentum, yeah, she's probably feeling that on the ground. She's seeing it in polling numbers and obviously in fundraising, but the energy, sort of that tidal wave. Whenever you're around something, you get something going, you want that. It's not that you want to create a vacuum or an ecosystem that's what Trump has done, for example, where he's just in there, he's going, nobody will stand up to him, evidently. I don't know. I've never met Donald Trump, never been in the room, but it seems like he's created a vacuum that is not productive. You can also create a vacuum that is productive, that is a mirror, right, for yourself. And so the party right now itself, the Democrat Party in Rhode Island, they're serving as a mirror to folks or to a candidate like Zai Kamsavorovong in the LG race. Right, to say, yeah, what you are doing is reflecting what we are seeking. And so we're going to give you that energy back. That's the vibe test, the real stuff behind this, all right? Now, on paper, it was kind of a 50-50 vote. It's not like they endorsed folks. Now, I told you months ago, I said at the convention, I think it was with McGowan, maybe the first episode of the season, if at the convention they endorse the state party, not the little, the little is pejorative, not the town committees. Those matter, believe me, they matter a lot. But they also don't matter at all. They matter on the vibe side. They don't necessarily translate to votes, all right? So if you're talking about momentum and energy, they can kind of matter. If you're talking about actual tangible results, I don't know. But on the state side, I told you that if they endorse folks, not don't endorse, but that they outright endorse Helena folks, that would be nuts. That would be nuts. Because as Dan McGowan reminded us today in Roadmap, even in the Sunderland Mirth York, about, 92? Even then, as Sunderland was crashing and burning and so on and so forth, the writing on the wall ultimately paved the way for Lincoln Almond. Even then, the party endorsed Sunderland, the incumbent. And look, a part of this right now, you want to hear issues talked about. And I know it's July. I know we're going to the beach. Look, I got my paddleboard going here, man. I'm like, talk to me another time. That's like, honestly, like, I'm just like trying to also like spend as much time, not stressing, not overthinking election season either, because what can we all do, right? But one thing I want to hear is I want to hear the issues. I want to hear the specifics of the issues. Like, let's get into housing, man. Are we talking about modular? Are we talking, how are we going to rezone? How do we balance, like Senator Dawn Oyer and I were talking about a couple of weeks ago here on the show, like how do we balance ecosystem, environmental protection, and zoning with the need to, given that we are like the second most densely populated place in the United States, state in the United States, region in the United States, where are we going to build housing? What are we going to do? Like, these are factual, necessary discussions to be having. And instead, we are in this other space campaign-wise. And I think that's the real problem and dilemma. And I look forward to debate season, by the way, so we can actually like get into these issues on a granular level, maybe not, but on at least paying some closer attention to like what are we actually doing here right now in Rhode Island, and where does Helena Folks want to take us? If I ask you that question, what are we actually doing in Rhode Island right now, and where does Helena Folks want to take us? Can you answer either of those questions like confidently? And here's part of. As Rhode Island's first ever member-owned credit union, Navigant Credit Union has been a staple in the local business community for more than 108 years. Today, Navigant is a $3.4 billion institution serving more than 136,000 members across 25 physical branch locations. But since its founding in 1915, the mission has never changed. Navigant Credit Union's team of financial professionals have remained committed to improving the financial well-being of the families, businesses, and communities they serve across Rhode Island. Learn more at navigantcu.org. Bartholomew Town is proud to partner with Waterfire. Visit waterfire.org. Half Street Group brings a new generation's perspective to leadership communications, strategic public relations, and digital marketing. Half Street helps organizations and leaders take control of their own stories and manage their reputations. They get results for their clients by focusing on audience message and culture, and by leveraging their decade-long relationship with media and opinion leaders in the Ocean State and throughout New England. And by the way, join me and Half Street Group founder and president Mike Rea for a conversation every month about news of the day, the hottest media analysis, and a look behind the scenes at how impactful leaders drive conversations. Learn more at halfstreetgroup.com. Bartholomew Town, proud to partner with the University of Rhode Island Online. Are you ready to take the next step in your career at URI Online? They offer business and leadership-focused programs designed to fit your life. Whether your goal is to advance your career in fields like public administration, supply chain management, or training and development, their online programs provide the flexibility you need with a high-quality education you deserve. You're going to learn from experienced faculty and collaborate with a network of professionals, all from the comfort of your home or wherever life takes you. Visit uri.edu/online to explore programs and start building your future today. URI Online, learn anywhere with us. Bartholomew Town is proud to partner with Newport Film. Visit newportfilm.com. Follow me on Instagram at Bill Bartholomew. The problem. What's been fascinating to watch this election cycle as a media person is the engagement with media has changed a lot, right? Some candidates, some people, some staffers have definitely, and I think correctly so, leaned into a lot more of social media and sort of direct-to-consumer, if you will, marketing, and that's probably smart. But not everyone's Zoran Mondani. And, you know, there's still a great need for traditional media and traditional types of scenarios where somebody outside of your orbit is asking you questions. Again, going back to the same idea of why the governor's race, why it doesn't feel as rewarding as many people would like right now. I'm sure the governor feels this way too. I'm sure Helena Folks at some level, although she is comfortable, I'm sure that there's a part of her, at least as a person who has been successful in life, understands the challenge and the value of competition in getting to the end result that is maybe in politics, the best or most likely to get you elected. But maybe on a broader level, actually gets us somewhere moving forward. But part of the problem right now is the governor has. Have you seen the new commercial? I know let me play, and I'm going to play. If this is audio, you still can kind of get an idea of what's happening here. I want to play this for you. I'm going to describe it for you as best as I can. And I'm not interested in going in and out of, should they have directed it differently or whatever. I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions. I want you to think about this before we wrap up today. A lot going on, by the way, in the podcast. The election season, I know I talked about paddleboarding, and I am getting excited about that. Debate season ahead, election season ahead. The Rhode Island election project here on Bartholomew Town starts in July. We'll have our debate schedule for you. We'll have we'll have a ton of candidate interviews, things like that. We'll really kind of go back to the old school B-Town 2018, 2020, 2022, 2024. The old school, we're going to revisit that mode, getting down and dirty with whatever random Providence City Council race might be available to discuss, right? We'll see how granular we get this time around. But we will have those statewide debates for you. Just locking down the details right now, so stay tuned for that. All right, here's the governor's latest commercial, and I just want to play this for you. Again, a lot of people beating him up on this for the performance. I'm not interested in that aspect of it, whatever. I'm interested in something else. Let's check this out.
I'm Governor Dan McKee. Some people say I'm not the most polished governor. Let me tell you why. What joke?
All right, I just want to stop it right there for the audio audience. So the governor's standing in front, I think it's Quonset, he's standing in front of, and behind him is like some seaport scenario, like manufacturing type of deal, like blue economy stuff. And then there's a windmill, but it's kind of blurred out. It's not the Block Island windmills. It's definitely not the Port of Providence either.
I'm Governor Dan McKee.
And then he stands there and he's putting his arms out. Like he stands in front of with the windmill behind him and he goes, I'm Governor Dan McKee. He puts his arms out. And, right then and there, the reason why I'm noting this is because I have covered Dan McKee. I've known Dan McKee since 2018. He was the first guest on Bartholomew Town. He was the first guest 45 seconds after I started my first time hosting on WPR. Dan McKee was on the air, first guest, Lieutenant Governor. I've been covering this guy. I've interviewed him a million times. I have never seen the governor move, address a camera, stand in just everything about this is very unnatural. And so that is kind of what my point is here, and how it relates to everything that came out of the convention, everything leading up to the convention, like I was talking about, that vibe test, that energy test, the intangibles. Here's another intangible. Somebody following directions that hasn't been trained as an actor. Zoran Mondani is a performer. He's an artist. He understands. He lives in New York. He understands how to perform on camera. He understands how to perform on audio. He understands how to perform on stage. He can take direction from a different way, the way that a great basketball player can take direction from a great basketball coach. You cannot feign this kind of stuff. And the governor, right out of the gate, kind of widens his arms out. Again, I asked you that question earlier. What's the state really doing right now? Number two, where does Helena folks want to take the state? That's different, not just different. What about it?
I'm Governor Dan McKee. Some people say I'm not the most polished governor. Let me tell you why. What joke?
And I hate that line. Harvard-educated guy. He's not an idiot. I just don't like it. It plays into what did I tell you? Helena folks, they're going to say she ran CVS and they had a huge problem with opioids. And then they're going to say over there, and folks are going to say, McKee's a nice guy, but he's incompetent. I just don't understand why we're leaning into that in any way when we have a healthcare crisis, an education crisis, a housing crisis, a basic affordability crisis, on and on it goes.
Revolution Wind is a clean energy project that will save Rhode Island families money on their utility bills.
When's the last time you heard about Revolution Wind? Since the Total deal that basically we paid off Total as a country to get the hell out of to stop putting offshore wind, and all the nonsense with the project off the coast, the 85% done. You remember the whole thing with Trump. When's the last time you heard someone talk about offshore wind that wasn't somebody who was opposed to
Provide
it.
power to 200,000 homes and create good-paying union jobs for Rhode Islanders. Donald Trump tried to stop it.
We don't allow windmills. We're not allowing any windmills to go up.
But we fought against his idiocy and won. So I may not look polished, but this is what it looks like to get things done. I'm Governor.
No, people need to know what it looks like to get things done from a genuine standpoint. And what I just don't understand, and maybe we're going to see it, folks, it's still early. It's June 22nd. Maybe we're going to see it. You're not telling the right story, though. And I think that may just be a misread in some way. Revolution wind. I mean, what? It just... I don't get it, man. I just don't understand what's happening. Like, I just don't understand what's happening. I don't know what this campaign season does not feel like it is addressing the problems that need to be solved so desperately. And I want to talk more about this on another episode because I think it's externalized well beyond any of the people here. The political machine is now a game. It's always been a game. It's always been a system. It's always been a thing of its in and of itself, right? But this version of it right now, it's why is the governor out there drawing attention to the things that they've actually in real time managed? Because that's where the proving ground is. Now they're going to say, well, take a look at the Washington Bridge, mismanaged, but the aftershock of the bridge is an available area to explore opportunities where the governor has delivered. You're not hearing from those people. You're not hearing from the businesses that did receive loans. You're not hearing from the municipalities that, in the wake of the bridge, received auxiliary funding for police so that the traffic could get under control. You know, that story is just, I don't know why you don't wade into it a little bit. Because that shows leadership styles and it gives people an option and an understanding. Hey, I'm not saying that this is what you even want out there. But again, I ask you that question. What is the state's actual program right now? Think of it like this. Let's boil it down as we sign off here. What's the state of Rhode Island's program under Dan McKee, and what's Helena Bonanno Folk's different program? Can you explain those to somebody at a hang this coming weekend? Could you explain, like, in the amount of time that someone would most likely retain interest? Could you say, here's what McKee does, here's what Folks does? I'm not sure. And again, we're talking about 40-something% undecideds in most of the polling. The convention, it just is what it is. It's kind of an insider thing. It matters, but it's not as big. I mean, if the AFL-CIO goes, folks, that's a big deal. And the reverberating consequences there's a lot to talk about as well down the line. How does this impact Joe Shekarchi's bid for the Supreme Court? There's a lot to unpack, man. And we'll do it. We got plenty of time. Talk to you next time here on Bartholomew Town. Our friends at the Coast Guard House have a new summer program starting this Thursday at 3 o'clock, Sound Waves, and it features DJ Dayglow. Bob Leonard from the Coast Guard House and DJ Dayglow join us here to talk about what's happening in Narragansett. Bob, what was the idea behind this?
We wanted to bring entertainment back to the deck. Spinning vinyl records is nostalgic, just like the Coast Guard House is.
It's an interesting parallel, the analog musical performance, sitting by the ocean, kind of slowing down and going back to the roots. Is that the idea here, DJ Dayglow?
That's definitely it. I really love creating intentional spaces with my music. So really picking records, slowing down, picking music that I think really complements the summer sounds of the Coast Guard house and the beachy vibes. I think it's going to be really exciting.
Bob, I think we got to get one of the sign-offs if you'd be so willing.
See friends, see food, see view. The Coast Guard House Restaurant.